All right, we're here. We made it. It's been a long time coming. This is the first video ever on Watch Candy, and I'm very excited about it. Don't judge the setup too much yet. I'm still kind of working out the kinks, and I still need to get a light. I'm sure I'm casting like crazy shadows right now, but I just had to talk about what is going on right now. It's just been digging at my soul. Let's go. All right, so what I've been dying to talk about ever since it came out, really, is this new G-Shock. It's the
GAV01-2A.
and I think this watch is getting way too much of a bad rap, especially in like G-Shock enthusiast circles. And so I really just had this craving to go out there and just tell people why I think it's amazing and why maybe not try and convince you per se, but like at least give it some justice so I can sleep at night because it's been a little bit nasty. Essentially, the biggest reasons why people are really kind of grading against this watch, it seems that number one is it's huge, and that is objectively true. I have no argument against that. Like I said, not that I'm trying to like debunk anything. It is a massive guy. It's at 58.2 millimeters wide. It's 19.6 millimeters thick. Doing a lug-to-lug measurement is basically pointless because the whole watch is the strap, essentially. So there are no lugs at all. It's just, it is a big guy. It's huge. What people tend to be missing is that big watches are not inherently bad. I know we're in this tiny watch like craze right now, and I'm certainly a part of that. Most of my collection is like 38 or under as far as millimeters. So really, I can't like say that small watches are wrong because I love them too. I have 6-inch wrists, 6 1/4 if we're like being generous. So I can't really say that you shouldn't hate this watch because it's big, because it's huge. But I think the size is something that should be embraced and worked with. It's so like comically large that I feel like it has this oversized look that is really exciting and kind of bizarre, that it really kind of works into an outfit and it feels very intentional. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't really care about like fashion per se, but like it just looks too big. That's kind of the point. I mean, G-Shock knows how to make small watches. They have the 2100s, they have the squares, they know how to do smaller pieces. So clearly this is an intentional decision that they have made in making this watch so massive. And not only is the watch just gigantic, but it has such a bizarre design. It is just otherworldly. I've had this watch personally for a few weeks, and I cannot stop staring at it and just trying to take in and digest its complexity and just how utterly bizarre it is. I find everything about it really captivating in a way that a lot of watches that I have or have seen that are like objectively higher quality and really like expensive and complex and crowd-pleasing pieces, none of them really just draw my attention in the same way this watch has. Honestly, I thought it was a collab for something that no one's ever heard of, because that's kind of what G-Shock does. When I saw it pop up on the G-Shock page, and I get emails for G-Shock, I immediately had to have it, just like instantly. I just added to cart. That's mine. I need it. And I really do. It is such like a crazy watch. It really reminds me of those Oakleys that they released that just cover the whole face essentially and go around the head. It definitely kind of reminisces of that era, which of course isn't a bad thing. Like I said, I'm not here to change anyone's mind. Like, it all makes sense why people are kind of like questioning this watch and why it exists and who is it for and why did it be designed that way. And I've heard lots of people just question, like, who approved this? And that's fair. Like I said, I'm not trying to change your mind, and this channel is really about just self-expression and being yourself and having your own tastes and celebrating that, because that's great. And so I definitely don't want to tell anyone that they're wrong for hating it, but it needed to be said how amazing this watch is. And I've looked in comment sections of all sorts of videos just destroying this watch, and a lot of them are people who are confused as to why, like, there's been such a negative reaction. I don't know, it needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be said that this watch is cool. Like, you can think that it's ugly and you can think that it's terrible, and you wouldn't necessarily be incorrect by thinking those things. But I think it's really important that big brands like G-Shock are, like, not just pushing the boundaries of design, because G-Shock have always kind of done that. They've always been a watch that you either love it or hate it, and that's okay. I mean, they have their fan base, and so they're not trying to be something entirely universal, right? As someone who is not only an appreciator of things that are different, but as an artist, I wanted to kind of point out how beautiful this watch really is. And I know that is a statement and a half to make. That is a statement to make. I cannot stop staring and just drooling over this weird concept of having the hour markers, and you can kind of see, if you look real close, you do get a couple minute markers outside on the case. Like, outside of the crystal, it's three-dimensional. You can touch it, you can feel it. These hour markers are completely covered, like, kind of clawing over this super domed crystal. And that in itself is a concept that I find incredibly fascinating. And say what you will about this watch, but this one concept alone is so wild and cool, and that's amazing. And really, it deserves to be acknowledged. Another thing that I absolutely love about this design are these little kind of nubs making their way around the case and the pushers and the strap. They definitely are reminiscent of... I like how you have 4 of them that are integrated into the watch's functionality, into its design. You've got the typical, like, 4-button layout that G-Shock is really known for and has been using forever. So we've got the strap, we've got these weird little bumper things, we've got the indexes. Next, it's time for the crystal, and I kind of mentioned the crystal throughout, but it's something that I really think needs its own section, and it is definitely one of the most controversial aspects of this watch, and rightfully so. It's very, very reflective. It is very difficult to get, like, a solid, flat, uniform just look at the watch and the dial. And I know that's something that we really typically look down upon, but with this watch, I feel like it's something that I think truly adds to this alien look. It gives the dial underneath kind of like a weird, warped, holographic sheen. We can't not talk about the hands. The hands are weird, and I'm certain that some weapon in a video game has crosshairs that look exactly like that. Another piece that is purely objectively cool, and you cannot even begin to convince me that this isn't entirely awesome. But the hour hand is held on by reverse polarity magnets, which is crazy. And that's one of the reasons why I am so obsessed with this watch. Is not only is the design just incredibly new, at least as far as G-Shock is concerned, but this technology is really kind of cool and cutting edge, and it brings together new design but also new technology in one watch at the same time. It's not just a crazy design, it's not just crazy technology, it's the whole package. You cannot deny, no matter how much you despise this watch, that this new feature is so cool. I mean, who would have even thought that you use magnets for the hands? Like, that's insane. Another striking feature about this watch that is something that a lot of people are immediately drawn to are the kind of like visor or eye-shaped displays on the dial. And I've heard some people kind of talk about that the right hand one especially is dim and hard to read, and that's not been my experience. Maybe I'm just lucky with mine, but it's very bright and I can read it just fine in just about any lighting scenario. I've never had any issue with the display's legibility unless one of the hands are in the way, which is one of my more major critiques with this watch. Yes, it's cool that the watch is able to support these big giant hour hands and minute hands, but if you have something that's going to be read underneath those things, then maybe they should have thought a little bit more about how they are to be read at certain times of day, right? Easily one of my favorite parts of this whole watch, and it's entirely gimmicky and serves little to no purpose whatsoever, but it has these little bubbles that kind of pop up and disappear as the seconds go by, and I find that to be just downright delightful to watch. If you have a stopwatch going, then you get this mesmerizing, almost hypnotic display of all the bubbles just kind of like swirling around in there as the stopwatch does its thing. And that is such like a small, useless feature that brings me so much unbridled joy. Obviously, it really hasn't landed with more seasoned G-Shock enthusiasts. They tend to be the ones that I have observed being hypercritical with this watch. It very much seems to be marketed to an audience that is young and new and fresh into the watch space. And the reason why I say that is not only just the design, but also with its marketing. It seems to be centered around these new little characters that the designer has come up with, and it very much feels similar to G-Shock's version of Kaz or the Pop Mart little like monster guys. I don't really know much about those, either of them. For reference, Kaz is this little kind of like skull and crossbones guy, and he just kind of like is cute and has a very much rubber tube Disney sort of design. To be completely honest, I didn't know he was a skull and crossbones until the Kaz collaboration with AP came out. I thought it was just like a little skull with like fluffy ears like a koala or something. There's like these little creatures with all the little protrusions, very reminiscent of the watch head. They seem to like morph or grow up or evolve into like these larger characters that seem more kind of ghostly with really weird spiky shoes. And it's this kind of like simple, cartoony, but highly marketable figure that G-Shock is introducing that I feel is very much, maybe not an attempt at replicating, but kind of a different like G-Shock take onto the Kaz and the Pop Mart figures that a lot of people, especially younger people, have gotten really into. Honestly, I don't love the way the big ones look. I don't think they're very cute. I love the little guys. I want like a plushie of that. If someone could please make that, or G-Shock, please do that. That would be awesome. I'd buy all of them. But the larger ones, especially with the shoes, they're just a little they just don't do it for me. The case back looks like any G-Shock case back. Whatever. Another thing I should definitely point out that I have not heard anyone say, but I think is, I don't know, it's so small that it's hard to say it's intentional, but at just the right time, every hour, the hour hand perfectly aligns its little crosshair right over the G in SIG on the dial there. I don't know if that's intentional, like I said, but it's so perfect that maybe it is. And which would be such a cool little Easter egg that just builds into this overall character of the watch and why it is just awesome. It's awesome. I'm sorry, you can't convince me otherwise. This watch is great. I hope you enjoyed my passionate rambling. I definitely plan on doing more artistic critiques of watches in the future, so if that's something you're interested in, definitely subscribe, join Watch Candy. We're going to be the biggest empire of all watch anything. That would be awesome. I would appreciate it. I can't wait to see everyone next time.